Hello everyone, my name is Nur Shaira Ajuna. My metric number is S71845. For this assignment, we are diving into relational database using Microsoft Access to solve a real-world accounting problem. Okay, now let's look at how I key in all the data from program 4.5 tables into the database. First, we must have a Microsoft Access apps. And then, for the customer table, column number 1, which is customer ID, we classify as data type short text. And then next column for customer name, city, and state, we also classify the data type as short text. But for this credit limit, data type are number. For the second table, which is inventory table, we classify the data type short text, item ID, description, and standard cost. While the currency, we classify for this price. Next, for the quantity on hand, we classify the data type are number. Third and fourth tables, which is sales tables and sales inventory tables. For the quantity on hand or any quantity, we must classify as number. And then for the date, we must classify as sales date. And others like the invoice number or ID, anything, we can classify as short text. So for the amount, we can classify as currency. So for the first query, which is query A on the create, and then click on the query design, save as query A, and then click on the table for query A, which is inventory table and sales inventory. And then for the first column, we must put in the item ID from inventory table. Connect with item ID sales inventory. For first column, click on the item ID inventory. And then the next column, we put the description from inventory table. And then the column quantity on hand from inventory table. So for the criteria quantity on hand, we must put more than 100 because the question need at least 100 unit in quantity on hand. And then we try to run it. As we can see, there is the repeated description. So to avoid it, we must total it. And you can see the group by, and there is only one description. For the next query, click on the group and then create the query design and then save as query name. So the table that we need are sales inventory table and inventory table. And then connect the item from sales inventory and inventory table. And then for the field, column number 1, select the item from sales inventory and then sale price from sale inventory. The column quantity from sales inventory. The column sales invoice from sales inventory. Next, for the criteria on the last column, which is sales invoice, we must put 103 because this question needs the sold on invoice number 103. Then run it. So this is the answer for query B. Next, for query C, click on create and then create the query design, save as query C. Select the two table, which is customer table and sales table, and then connect the customer from customer table with sales for customer. Okay. And then for the first column, we should choose the customer name from customer table. And then for the second column, choose the salesperson from sales table. And then For the criteria for salesperson column, we should type the Martinez because this question need the customer name and salesperson, which is purchased from Martinez, and this is the data. So we must total it to avoid the repeated, and this is the final answer for query C. So the query D, and then click on create and query design. Choose the table, which is sales table and customer table. Connect customer ID from sales and customer ID from customer table. For the first column, choose the invoice from sales table, and then second column, sales date from sales table. Third column, salesperson from sales table. Fourth column, customer name from customer table, and then the last column is amount from sales column. And then for the criteria amount, we should type the amount is more than 150,000, because this question and us to find amount is more than $105,000. So click on the group by and then click on descending at amount, and this is the final answer for query D. Next step for query E. First we click on the create and create the new query design. Save as query E. So we should to select two tables, which is inventory table and sales inventory table. So for item ID inventory table, we must connect with item ID sales inventory. For the first column, we should select the item ID from inventory table. Next, sales invoice from sales inventory, which is invoice, and then description from inventory. Next, sale price from sales inventory, and then quantity on sales inventory, price on inventory, list price on inventory, and then for the last column, we must put the formula, which is extension list price, and then multiply with quantity, because the question we used to find the item or sold, which is we use the formula extension sale price multiply with quantity. Okay. And then for item first column, we must select the descending on the sort. And for the sale price, on the sale price, which is column number 4, we must put the formula less than and more than inventory table, and then the price table, list price. Next, after that we can run it. So this is the data for query E. Next, for the query F, we go to create and create the new query design. Save as query F. So we must select the table, which is inventory, sales, and sales inventory. Put the sales inventory table between inventory and sales table, and then connect the inventory table item ID with sales inventory item ID. Sorry, my mistake. Delete for the first. And then for the first column, we put the sale price from sales inventory. Next, invoice from sales, sales date from sales, item from inventory, sale price from sale inventory, quantity from sales inventory. And then for the last column, we must put the formula, which is this question must we find the formula, find the data, use this formula, which is profit margin. Sales price minus with STD cost, and then divide with sale price. So for this sort, we should choose the descending, and then we can try run it. Hide the column, the first column, and then this is the answer for profit margin. So for the next question is query J. We create the new query design and save as query J. And then select with same table with query F, which is the table of inventory, sales, and sales inventory. For sales inventory, we must put between sales and inventory. Connect the item ID from inventory with sales inventory. And then for the first column, we must put the quantity from sales inventory. After that, sales invoice from sales inventory, sales date from sales, item ID from inventory, sale price from sales inventory, quantity from sales inventory. And then the last column, we must put the formula for query G, which is this question must we find the data for profit, use the formula sale price minus standard cost, multiply with quantity. So we just fill in the formula. So for the sort on this formula, we choose the descending. And then for the invoice column number 2, the sort, we choose the ascending. And then after that we can run it. So the data will be like this. So for the next question are question H. So we must to create the new query and save as query H. So for this question, select the one only table, which is table 6. Then this question needs us to find how many sales transactions were made in October. So for the first column, we must put the formula as given on the question, _of_sales, and then count, open bracket for 2 times, and then amount, close the bracket for 2 times also. And then for the next column, we choose the sales date from sales table. And then for the total, we must put the total and change the number of sales, which is expression, and sales date change with where. And then for the column sales date criteria, we must put the formula, which is the question is October, so we put the between 1 October hashtag, and hashtag 31st October 2019. After that, we can try run it, and then this is the answer for query H. Next are the last question, which is query I. First one is we choose the grade and create the new query design, save as query I. For query I, we must select the customer table, and then for the first column, we choose the state from customer table, and the second column choose the customer ID. Alright, after that, we total it and change customer ID total to count. And then from the criteria from state, we should choose Arizona, which is the short form with exact symbols, and then we can try run it. This is the answer for question I.